And next up is Reese, who's going to do some poetry, I believe. Please give her a round of applause.
I want to give a shout out to Mike, because I thought his poem was excellent. Wherever he went. There he is. Okay, I'm reading a couple of poems tonight. The first one is by Gary Snyder. It's a favorite of mine. It is called Praise for Sick Women. The female is fertile and disciplined contra naturam, only confuses her, who has head held sideways, arm out softly, touching a difficult dance to do, but not in mind. Hand on sleeve, she holds a leaf turning in sunlight on spiderweb, makes him flick like trout through shallows, builds into ducks and cold marshes, sucks in the quiet. Bone rushes in, behind the cool people a knot grows, sudden roots sod him and solid him, rain falls from skull roof mouth as a wash from small creeks. Hair grows, tongue tenses out, and she, quick turn of the head, back glancing, one hand, fingers smoothing the thigh, and he sees. Apples will sour at your sight. Blossoms fail the bough, soil turn bone white, wet rice, dry rice, die on the hill slope. All women are wounded, who gather berries, dibble in modded lights, turn white roots from hummus, crack nuts on stone, high upland with squinted eye, or rest in cedar shade. Are wounded in yurt or frame or mothers, shopping at the outskirts in fresh clothes, whose sick eye bleeds the land. Fast it! Thick throat shields from evil, you young girls. First caught with gut cramp, gather punk wood and sour leaf, keep out of our kitchen. Your garden plots, your bright fabrics, clever ways to carry children, hide. A beauty like season or tide, sea cries. Sick women, dreaming of long-legged dancing in light. No, our Mother Eve, slung on a shoulder, lugged off to hell. Kali Shakti. Where is hell then? In the moon, in the change of the moon. In a bark shack, crouched from sun to 5 days, blood dripping through crusted thighs. This is Philip Whalen. It's called A Dim View of Berkeley in the Spring. A graduated row of children, the biggest old enough to feel the boredom, leading the rest, tearing up flowers in the driveway. The boredom, the tension. Fraternity men crowded into a wire cage. A volleyball court, jumping, hollering, laughing. Only one is headed down the hill with his books to the campus, smoothing his crude down hair. Too loud. Tension. The flying ball, an indeterminate future. The army, the navy, marriage before or later. Leap, shout, a pattern of release that actually comes much later in some parked car, trying to make out with some chick who won't. She wants a home of her own to do it in. Who can blame her? Then going back to the house with a stone ache or gooey underwear, the tension relieves so they can sleep, or built high enough to be dreamed off or jacked away in the shower at 3 a.m. Where's the action? What's going on? The Suez is not at home to anyone. Mr. Dullness says, war is no longer profitable. Daddy Warbucks in the White House says, everything is going to be just dandy. What are we going to do? In Hungary, they had a good idea. They got together to kill the government, but the government mowed them down. Who cares about revolutions, the old corpses in the street routine? Who cares? Several hundred of us crowded in to watch a student gassed to death at Kew. Later, a lot of other students went to peek at the body preserved in the basement of the university. The murderer on ice! So we all saved the trouble and the expense of a trip to Central Europe. Charlie Olson told me, intolerable is all right, a very dramatic word, but that isn't it at all. What I mean is, nobody can stand it, the tension, the boredom, whatever. Mama and Papa scream at each other about the new deep freeze. And sometimes I just turn the TV off and go do something else. I get so tired of it. That was the egg lady speaking, and the children continue destroying the flowers, being too young to go to the show at night alone.
And next up is Kyle, who is going to do another short story. Round of applause, please.
All right, this one's a little longer than the other, and not nearly as nice, I guess. I call it Retributal. and it's based on a dream I had myself. I have a pretty strong affinity for dreams just because the few I've had have been really impacting on different circumstances in my life. And this one I had last year. Her arms wrapped about his shoulders, rocking back and forth, and he laid there still and so still, staring at the walls with unblinking eyes. Tears lay upon both sets of cheeks, unwiped and evaporating with the time distancing them from before. Mutterings flowed under the door, squeezed through the cracks and sounded through the dark walls like a beating drum on those sensitive ears, boxed in and bloody. Those dark walls spoke violently with laughter, roused by drink and madness. They watched the walls beat in on them, and she held him, and he stared. His lips started to move a bit, parting slightly in a gaping silence. A loud sound brained the thought, and the walls shattered the mirror of the children. They clutched each other now, without comfort, his mouth open in shock and her eyes shut in fear, and neither welcoming nor refusing the other, and only huddled out of mutual desperation. Instinct overwhelmed them, and they shook. "Sis, that hurts," he spoke between shivers. And so she released his neck and grabbed instead beneath his arms. His girth accepted her, and she cried into his back, and he sat dumb on the ground. The wood beneath him would splinter them if he moved, he thought, and so he sat so still and didn't dare to move. Perchance they would hear them, he thought, and so he spoke so little. Her tears wept down his back and through his thin and tattered shirt, white though stained a bit red now, as she clung to him and after she had held him so. The walls quieted a bit as another round was down, and the television rambled on with mild static in the news. "Bro, I don't know what to do anymore. Father keeps this up and you ain't gonna get up anymore after a while." He looked around at the dark walls, the door glaring at him, the voices penetrating his solitude, and wept. The tears formed again on his face, dripping from him and mixing with the red on his shirt into a glistening stain. Somebody broke glass in the other room, and Father was yelling again. But she wasn't paying attention to them anymore and was walking quietly around the room. She walked lightly, so that she seemingly glided across the planks, rotting as the floor. You could see the dirt underneath, hidden by the webs and the little dead bugs, and live ones, and he watched her. She would go around to a corner and take up a discarded doll, set it down again without a care. It fell to the ground, and she looked at her brother and smiled a bit. She shrugged at his stare and continued walking along the walls, placing a hand on them from time to time as if to feel the voices and take some comfort in their presence, to reclaim a bit of the fatherly love she knew she should have known. She'd never known it, but she knew. One arm hung. "Stand up. Get things together. Sis'll be okay. She gotta be okay. Stand up and get something." He pushed himself up, and she looked at him questioningly, and he walked over to the little desk they did their homework at and sat down. He got out a piece of paper and a pencil and began to write. "Bro, things okay? We got our work done this afternoon." "No, sis, you be okay. Don't worry about me, sis. I'm gonna be strong for you, sis." He pulled out the chair and sat, and when he laid the paper down on the desktop, he stared at it a while, took the pencil in his large hand, and began to recollect what had happened. "Sis, someone's gotta care. I'm gonna make him care." He didn't really know what he was thinking or how it would help, but it's all he knew he could do without leaving her. It's something he could do, and so he would do it. He looked up at her as he wrote. He'd had some problems before, not just from Father and his friends, but from kids at school too. "Sis understand me okay, and she need better. She loved me like I need." Sis keep on walking around the room, and she sees the crawlies. They ain't good for her, them bite at night. She's special to me. Sis'll be okay, I know it. I make Sis okay, and Father won't put me out for it. He stared at her hard as she passed the door again. She's kindness, and focused on the paper, moving the pencil. She yelled at, crying, smacked in the face. He grabbed her hair and her shirt. He threw her, locked in a room. She screamed again. He came to me in a corner and they watched. I spoke, but they hit me. Tough boy. Cry, boy. He hit me again in the corner while she cried at the door. They watched me bleed. He hit me again and I cried, and again they watched, and he laughed. He told me I would take it. I was a strong boy, but I didn't want to. I got pushed into the corner more. He pushed me back and he shoved his fingers in my face. It hurt and his fingers scratched me and they just watched him and me and I heard her crying. He hit my belly and I tried to breathe, so he stuck his thumb in my mouth and pulled my face to the TV. He wrapped his fingers on my face as I watched until I bit him, and so he broke my jaw. He hit me again on the side of my head and I let go.